Okay, the time has come. Let's talk about Jadon Sancho. Dev is so angry. I can't wait. I can't wait. Okay, so Ten Hag said this. He said that it was dropped based on his performance in training. Jadon, on his performance in training, was not selected, said the Dutchman. You have to reach a level at Manchester United every day. And he didn't emphasise it like that. Every day. And we can make choices in the front line. So for this game, he was not selected. Jadon then said this, which was surprising. 8:29 p.m. Please don't believe everything you read. I will not allow people saying things that is completely untrue. I've conducted myself in training very well this week. I believe there are other reasons for this matter that I won't go into. I've been a scapegoat for a long time, which isn't fair. All I want to do is play football with a smile on my face and contribute to my team. I respect all decisions that are made by the coaching staff. I play with fantastic players and grateful to do so, which I know every week is a challenge. I will continue to fight for this badge no matter what! Exclamation mark. Dev, how do you feel about that?
So Jadon Sancho has been at United for 3.5 years now. I put it to the table. Give me 5 games where he's been Jadon Sancho.
Yeah, I
got one.
Don't have that kind of knowledge.
I've got one. Yeah. But I think with him, it's like you're coming into Manchester United, which is one of the biggest clubs in the world, and you have to understand that. And so you're going to get scrutinised more than any other team or probably any other player, being a right winger or a flashy player at Man United. You're always going to get that. As Paul Pogba, like, he knows what it's like. So you come in knowing all of that, and you were under, I think he was signed by Ollie, so it's like you knew what you were coming into. He wouldn't have sugarcoated it. You're signed by a United legend. You know what you're getting yourself into. And I think when I see him at Dortmund and I look back at his performances, it's like you needed a big man, you needed someone else. You didn't breeze past people and all this. So I used to try and get on and say, defend him because he's not that type of player to breeze past you and do all this. That was never him. He was intricate, he was cute, and he was technical. But the issue I have with him, and it's kind of modern football as a whole, the reason I love Erik Ten Hag so much is because he's going back to basics. And when I mean that, probably tactically, he is somewhat going back to basics, but we've seen so many goals last season, including Sancho's at Liverpool, where we see the Ten Hag effect and the kind of football he wants to play, the transitioning, the moving of positions. It's brilliant. But Ten Hag has been really, really good at bringing back something that Mourinho didn't, Van Gaal, definitely not Moyes or Ollie, or definitely not Ralph. But there's a steeliness to being a Manchester United player where you are going to get criticised and you are going to have this. And a lot of people came out and defended Sancho because they like him and all this, whatever. And they went in on Ten Hag. There's already a Ten Hag out brigade, like, now, and I've seen it, and it makes me sick because this dude is someone who, he gets the ethos of Manchester United. And if you weren't good enough, you either put up or shut up at United. There were players who weren't flashy, but who worked their arse off every single day, every single game for Man United because they'd bleed for us. Gary Neville was he was a good right back. I wouldn't say he was one of the best. Like, there are other players more technical.
We did a podcast actually on Man United Ripple Effect 11. And I did sort of give him his flowers for a second. He was very good right back. He
was. But I think if you compare him to the other ones, like, he would probably have to go down in one of England's best right backs. But then compare him to Brazil's or Italy's, he's nowhere near. So I think, of course. But then you had players like Darren Fletcher, a John O'Shea, a Wes Brown, and it's like a Johnny Evans, where they would just give their all for the badge no matter what. And I love that about them, and that's why we love them. And Sancho has an issue where people are saying the manager can come out and the player can't. What kind of hypocrisy is that? There's a thing called hierarchy at a football club, and there's a man called Sir Alex Ferguson who was very good at implementing that hierarchy, and there's players who are far better than Sancho, who performed way better, that got a bit too big for their boots and they were booted out. Beckham, Stam, Van Nistelrooy, whoever. And the issue, and again, the real big issue I'm having with this situation is it's been blown so badly out of proportion by what Ten Hag said.
Right.
Because I watched that interview. You look at the words.
I've seen it, yeah.
Yeah, you look at the words, you think, not great. But then you look at the interview. Ten Hag is one of the most placid men I've ever seen in my life. And he just calmly said, that's the situation. Exactly the way Gareth Southgate said it in 2019. Exactly the way Dortmund manager said it in 2017. And City's development coach said it when he was earlier. Like, all of these started coming out now because
Would Southgate say that exactly the same?
Well, it's in the article by The Guardian.
Right.
And that's why I think there's an issue here with... And Sancho's had quite a few disciplinary issues through the various clubs that he's been at. I'm not saying he's a bad egg or any of this, but and the one thing I need to emphasize is last season when we needed him, when we needed a right winger because we had no right winger. I'm not going to go into why, but we had none. And with Jadon Sancho, we gave him a 3-month break. He was still getting paid his full wages. He went off, I think, to Holland to work with specialists under Ten Hag's supervision. He comes back against Leeds, gets an equaliser, and Ten Hag's the first man to talk his praises and sing him. And he played a run of, I think, 5-6 games and did nothing. I think he did one game good against Tottenham, but we drew that game, so doesn't get remembered, and then nothing else. So I'm afraid there is a situation where you're going to have competition and all this favouritism thing with Anthony. The fact is, Anthony does get tracked back. He does play how Ten Hag wants to play, and Sancho has to wise up to that. And I think what Sancho has done is he's dug his own grave at Man United by using language like he's a scapegoat, he's this. That's very divisive, very serious language you're using to throw your manager under the bus, because the manager did not throw you under the bus. I don't subscribe to the fact that Ten Hag did, because you look at the two, his reaction, I think, totally outweighs what Ten Hag said.
Okay, so I agree with that. A lot more words, definitely from Jadon Sancho. And you're right, the use of scapegoat is an interesting one to use. And I guess, so first thing, the sort of comparison the big clubs have, often from looking at successful eras and kind of utilising that, I think is quite dangerous, but also something I'm just about to do. So the Fergie element here, like would Fergie have done this, would Fergie have done that, whatever, right? The one thing I would say, and I think the context is tricky here, because also with like Man United players having steel and things like that, one thing you could pick at with that is today, I don't think you can have a weak link at all. And back then you could get away with a kind of workhorse in there. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's got to be so technically amazing now. So it's different from that point of view as well. But I think Fergie would have given the hairdryer treatment to Jadon Sancho. He might have bombed him out, but I don't think he would have said anything in a press conference. I don't think he would have said anything in a press conference. Now, I think if you go, like things get clipped up, if you go like ka-chung, on Ten Hag just saying that, that's not the whole context. No, that's not the whole story. And as you say, they really invested in him last year, and it would seem that there were some, I'm totally guessing here, and I apologise if I'm wrong, but some mental health issues with Jadon Sancho, which we've seen on numerous occasions. Rashford's spoken about this openly. Dele Alli's recently spoken about this. So these aren't robots, right? No. So there has been that desire to sort of invest in that person and give them that opportunity. Yeah. But so Ten Hag's kind of got fed up enough to say what he said. Now, he said it in a very Dutch way, and it's quite dry in how he said it, but the words are the words, and it is a press conference. There are 15 microphones in front of you. He knows what he's doing, and he wanted to have it said, and he has done that previously in games like the Brentford game last year. And it was refreshing, right? It was kind of honest. So depending on how you want to kind of relate to what he's saying, you can kind of go, did he really need to do this? Or you can go, okay, enough's enough, and we don't know enough about that. But what I would also say is, I think incredibly revealing here is two things. First of all, Sancho not being able to let it go. I think for me feels like, and again I might be wrong, this is clearly pressing on an insecurity that he is irritated by, so much so that he couldn't let it go. The second thing that I've got a problem is far more specific. He says, I have conducted myself in training very well this week.
This week.
So, and we've all met a person, not like Jadon Sancho, but the vibes I'm getting from this statement is that he's kind of going, well, hang on a minute, I've been really good this week. Go, well, but for the last 6 months you've not been on time. And when we see the evidence of England and Dortmund and things like that, what he sees as being professional clearly isn't the same as what Erik Ten Hag wants from him. And very well just feels, I don't know, there's something not kind of right about that. He's sort of trying to safeguard himself here. There's a lot more that needs to come out in the wash here. Alex, what do you think about this?
There's an argument. The two foremost institutions in this country are the monarchy and Man United. There's genuinely an argument. You go anywhere in this country, there's a Man United top. Like it is the biggest sporting institution possibly even in the world.
Yeah.
You could say that. I'm sure there's arguments
Real
against
Madrid,
that.
maybe that's it.
The thing the monarchy does though is control the narrative. They have people in Kensington Palace who have direct contact with every single person, the Daily Mail, that whatever they want to say will go out in the papers the next day.
Yeah.
My big problem with Arteta used to be, there was a small thing about William Saliba a little while ago, where people were saying, "Oh, do people hate Saliba? Does he hate Saliba? Does he not want to use him? Whatever." And I was like, just come out in a presser and say you really like him.
Yeah.
Don't allow this to become an issue. And I think my big thing is I think Ten Hag has absolutely every right to tell his players, and at every elite institution, you need one person. If you go on Manchester United's Wikipedia page, it's hilarious. You go down to like their directors or whatever. They've got like a director of football. They've got the board. They've got a director of football operations. They've got a director of football negotiations. They've got a director of literally
don't believe any of it.
Every single thing, right? So the football ideas firstly need to be streamlined at the club. But I think they also need to get behind one figurehead. And it feels as though, to some degree, Ten Hag is getting that. At that club, they need to back him to the hilt with what he says. But Ten Hag needs to do that internally. If you watch what Arteta does, so he was, I put a clip out of this. There's a press conference where he's talking to Sky and he says, "I've had my words twisted this week. Someone has said that I've criticised my players for the way they're training. I didn't say that. If someone isn't training to that level and to the level that I need, either I'm gone or they're gone. Because either I'm not doing their job or my job, or I'm not getting something out of them, or they're not doing their job." But he never names someone. And I think the big problem with Ten Hag is you have to control the narrative, and he has to understand. I think at FC20, at even Ajax maybe, that would be fine. But you're dealing with international superstars here, and that has to happen internally in the same way that the monarchy has to deal with the Meghan Markle situation as internally as they possibly can, because it's a huge thing. And I think that's my big gripe with it, is it's about controlling the narrative. I don't think Ten Hag's done that.
Because actually you're taking money off his price tag as well.
Yeah.
If you can be as clinical as
that.
Like,
we are.
You probably should be, right? And look, I think his days are clearly numbered there. Like, I mean, if he plays again, I'd be interested. I mean,
I'd be shocked if he plays for Man United again.
But from Manchester United perspective, they almost have no choice. They have to back that. If they undermine Ten Hag on this,
gone. But
what's he doing?
But at the same time, I won't miss him. Sancho, like there comes a time when I think we haven't backed the manager for so long, and Ten Hag is. I don't care what anyone says. If you talk about the money or anything at Man United, if we were an efficiently run business, we would have spent half the amount of money that we have spent. Like Ten Hag said, I knew that Ten Hag wanted Anthony before he even came. Everyone else knew it as well. He said it in March, because that's when we announced him. He said it then. He wanted to bring some of his players, and Anthony was the big one. They waited until near deadline day and offered 90 million euros. So we are the pound for pound, probably because of how big we are, probably one of the worst run clubs in the world. And everyone's laughing at us. And to be honest, when it's your turn, you take it. Like, I was laughing at Hicks and Gillette. I was laughing at Kroenke when he wasn't doing well. And I was laughing at, probably everyone was laughing at Ken Bates and everyone at Chelsea. So it does happen, and there's ebbs and flows.
But this is an opportunity, in my opinion, to right that wrong. Because in terms of uniting behind one idea, if you look at any sustained period of success, it's come behind one figurehead, really. Yes, there's been other people, but Wenger, Ferguson, Klopp, Guardiola, any sustained period has come behind one figurehead. And if Man United could take this opportunity and turn it into a positive and say, this is our moment to say we're backing behind Ten Hag. So it could be a positive.
But then we have owners who haven't seen the light today until they decided, actually, in 2009 we're going to be like, we don't want to invest in the women's club. Oh, they made the FA Cup final. Let's get a private jet to Wembley and let's put the debt on the club. And then look, we're here. Everyone loves us, and like, let's shake everyone's hands. Like, we are one of the worst run clubs in the world, so they won't do that. And these operational people, like I heard Matt Hargreaves, director of football negotiations, he was. Why do you need more than one? But
have you got? Can you get Wikipedia?
Yeah,
like,
sure.
The amount
Can you
of
go
people
on Man
in there.
United and just look at, I think it's like current staff or something like that, and just read it out?
Yeah.
I genuinely think you could boil all of Man United's problems down to this list. Because when you're coming into a football club, if I'm coming in even from an external perspective, I'm looking at Manchester City and who's responsible for the football ideology at the club, Pep Guardiola.
Yeah.
Who's responsible for the football business at the club, Chicky Begiristain.
Yeah, Begiristain.
Bang, done.
Yeah.
At United, have you got the list? I mean,
coaching staff or what staff?
it's like it says like
Director
board
staff,
directors. It's just below that somewhere.
Coaching staff, management, Man United Limited. Okay, yeah, we've got a lot here. So we've got co-chairman, Do you just want the titles?
Just you could read them out or say how many are in there.
Okay. So, co-chairman Avram Glazer, Joel Glazer, chief executive Richard Arnold, Cliff Batty is the chief financial officer. The chief operating officer is Colette Roche. The chief legal officer and general counsel is Patrick Stewart of Star Trek. Non-executive directors Brian Glazer, Kevin Glazer, Edward Glazer, Darcy Glazer, Robert Latau, John Hooks, Manu Shawnee. Then there's honorary presidents, directors, football directors, deputy football director, technical director, director of football negotiations, director of football operations.
I mean,
and none of them know what they're doing.
How on earth can anything get done?
But we whittled off 8 non-executive directors who technically don't have a say in the operational running of the club, but they have a say in the ultimate direction of it. That's why the sale and everything's taken so long. But we are the most pathetically run football club, and we're run by people who don't care. Like if we were to look at how much money has been invested by the Glazer family themselves, everyone can say, United spend this and that. I can safely say that's our money. We can spend whatever the hell we want because we're Man United. The fact we're now looking at FFP and using that as an excuse is nonsense. We're Manchester United.
This is Manchester United.
It is. We are the big.
Very good.
That's very good. He did one with Roy Keane.
Honestly,
that was really good.
Like, you wouldn't believe.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good. But no, I think
Couldn't you've done that for the whole thing? I go Gary Neville.
Yeah.
Gary Neville on it.
But no, we'll see. I think with Sancho, to come back to the Sancho point, he's emblematic of a much wider problem at Manchester United. It's not just him. It's not because Ten Hag has done a good job in weeding out certain players this window. Sancho should have been one of them because he's clearly got some issues that he's dealing with personally. I don't know what he's dealing with, so we can't go into that.
He's frustrated, isn't he? He's not playing football. He's come for a big price. He thinks he's a great player. I think he is a great player, but it's obviously not worked there.
Cement your place.
But,
Scholes came out recently and said when Veron came, he thought, it's maybe my time to either put up or shut up. And what did Paul Scholes do? Became the greatest centre mid we ever had.
I think if everything was fine, Sancho would be playing. Something's not.
Something's wrong.
No, for sure. But Scholes didn't have an agent. Yeah. Sancho will have PR teams and coaching, personal coaching staff,
social media
nutrition
manager.
and social media.
Point, it's on him though.
No, 100. And I'm not saying that, but the point is more that players, the way you deal with players now is different, and it is his responsibility. But this is why it's even more important to control the narrative because they have entire teams themselves that can control it themselves.
Yes, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Really.